Story time about how my boyfriend was cheating on me with my stepsister. So a little background information, my mom remarried whenever I was in 8th grade, and my stepdad had 2 daughters. One which was my age and we got along really well. Well, before my sisters and I went back to school, my mom wanted to go on a camping trip with everyone. And my boyfriend was coming because he was really close with my family. So while my stepsister and I are packing up, she starts acting really weird. And we're gonna call my boyfriend Kevin. She was like, "Oh, is Kevin still coming with us?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she goes, "Oh, are you and Kevin still together?" And I'm like, "We were never broken up. Like, the fuck?" Like I said, she was just being super fucking weird. But anyways, we all get in the car, we drive up there, and her and Kevin start being super weird around each other. Like, they were being too touchy. Anytime that I wanted to go do something with Kevin, she would say, "Oh, Kevin, you can come do this instead." Well, that night, Kevin and I are sleeping in our tent. At least I thought he was. And I wake up to some loud noises in the other tent, like for part 2.
My brother used to be obsessed with Call of Duty, COD 4. When he was like 12 years old, he had the headset and everything. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard someone play COD 4, but it kind of sounds like this. Get him. Get that mother. Go now. Yeah. You missed the fucking guy. God. So it's a super wholesome game, but to annoy my brother, I used to sit next to him and watch him while he played. And one day he was playing with someone who had the username Little Pickle. And at the time I was 10 years old and I really liked that username. I thought it was cute. So I changed all my usernames, AOL, email, Club Penguin, to Little Pickle. And then somehow my dad found out that I did that. And he thought Little Pickle was a really cute name too, so he started calling me that. And my brother for some reason didn't realize or didn't know. But my dad kept calling me Little Pickle for years, and then it caught on, so my friends started calling me Little Pickle. When I graduated college, my parents made a sign that said, "Congratulations, Little Pickle." Then one day last year, my brother was like, "It's weird that people call you Little Pickle." And I was like, "Why is it weird?" He was like, "I remember there used to be this super creepy kid on COD 4 who only ever talked about his penis, and he called it his little pickle. All he talked about was his dick." So now I'm 25 and people still call me Little Pickle. Meanwhile, there's some sketchy video gamer out there also calling his penis a little pickle, so.
So when I was getting ready for school one day, I picked up some lotion and was going to put it on my face. It looked a little weird, but I figured my mom bought me some new lotion. So when I got to school, everyone was staring at me, but I didn't know why. I see my friend Zion, I asked him, "Yo, why is everyone staring at me?" "It might be because of your face. I ain't never seen your face that smooth." "My face is smooth? What the heck is he talking about?" So I went to the bathroom to see what he was talking about. Woo, my face is smooth. It must be that new lotion. So I went back outside smiling because my face is smooth. All of a sudden, Brayden comes up to me and smacks a piece of paper on my face.
"Oh, everyone, Desmond's wearing makeup."
I didn't know it was makeup. I didn't know. I thought it was lotion. What more do you want from me? Stop it.
So when I was a sophomore in high school, I had this teacher who would only let the students in her class use the restroom one time per semester. Well, one day I raised my hand and I was like, "Excuse me," I don't remember her name, "can I please use the restroom?" And she was like, "No, you can't because you've already used the restroom in my class this semester." Well, excuse me, you can't dictate my bladder. So I'm like all frustrated and I started secretly texting my mom because I wasn't allowed to use my phone in class. And I was like, "Mom, I'm sitting in class right now. My teacher won't let me use the restroom." And she was like, "I'll take care of it for you." And I was like, "Okay." So like 5 minutes goes by and all of a sudden my teacher's phone starts ringing and she walks up to it and answers it and she's like, "Hello?" "Yeah. Okay, thank you." And then she walks up to me like so angry and she like slams the pass on my desk and she was like, "Since you have to go that bad." And I was like, "Yeah, I really do, thanks." And I got up and left. I didn't even have to go to the bathroom. It was just the principle of it. I just roamed the halls.
So I work at Bed Bath & Beyond, and first of all, the 3 B's in Bed Bath & Beyond should not stand for that. It should stand for bitches be bonkers, because these people come up in there and they act crazy. I was checking out this boomer woman, and she was like, "Can you tell me how much this is?" And I scanned her item, and I was like, "Yeah, it's $19.99. And she looked at me and she went, like the Family Feud buzzer. She went, like it was such a good sound effect. I'm convinced that she was the Family Feud buzzer. Like they had her on salary and shit. She seriously went, nope, it's supposed to be $14.99. And by the sound of her I know that is not the first time that she has done that. I know that that is well rehearsed, that she uses whenever she thinks she caught somebody. I can just imagine her sitting at home. Her husband was supposed to be home 3 hours ago. He walks in the front door. She's like, "Where you been?" He's like, "Ooh, I had to work late." She's like,
Story time! So yesterday my friends and I all went to the fair and there were 6 of us in total. and none of us wanted to have to worry about driving there and parking, so we just Ubered instead. So we left the fair around 11:15 and we walked to a nearby shopping center where the Uber picked us up about 10 minutes late. We ended up leaving at 11:30. We get in the Uber, the man says hello, and we head home the normal way. Everything's fine. And my parents don't like when I Uber, so they were tracking me on Life 360 from the moment I got in the car. After about 10 minutes in, I get a text from my mom, and it said, "Where are you?" I look up from my phone and I realize I have no idea where we are, and Ubers know their directions, they know how to take you home. We were 20 minutes out of the way. So I'm terrified. My mom's texting me nonstop, literally about to call the police. I'm gonna run out of time, but posting part 2 today.
This girl literally lived a nightmare. A 17-year-old girl was watching TV late at night when her motion detector lights in her driveway suddenly went on. She assumed it was just an animal, so she got up, drew the blinds, and went back to watching TV. Then a little bit later, it happened again. Before she could even react, she looks over and clearly makes out a silhouette of a person right behind the blinds who starts banging aggressively on the window. The girl stands up and goes, "I'm gonna call the cops!" And the figure stops for just a second, sprints to the side door and starts pounding even louder on that, screaming incoherently. The girl runs to the bathroom, barricades herself inside while she waits for the police, and then her worst nightmares come true. She hears glass shatter in the other room. After a few minutes of silence, she opens her door just a crack to get a peek outside, and standing in her living room next to a broken window is some crazy old woman who looks over at her and starts sprinting toward her. The lady comes smashing into the door and starts wailing on it until the police arrive and take her away. She was a lunatic who had escaped her facility.
Story time. So just when I thought dating couldn't get any worse, surprise, it did. I went on this date. It was like a FaceTime date the other night with this guy, and it was going okay at first. It was a little bit awkward, but it was fine. Pretty soon into the date, he asked me what my type was. And I said, well, I don't really have a type. Like, all my exes are pretty different, which is true. And then I asked him what his type was. He looked me straight in the eyes and said to me, well, normally I go for really strong, motivated, and independent women, but they're all pretty heartless. So I'm trying something different. Excuse me, bitch?
Storytime, my toxic best friend outed me to the entire school. So one day, one of my best friends from a neighboring school decided to move to my school, and she was extremely upset because her best friend over there came out as bi. So I ended up using this as an opportunity to come out bi as well. And she was like, well, it's okay for you. I just got really close to her. We'll call the girl Becky because no one likes a Becky. And we can call her friend Heather. So fast forward to after the situation had calmed down, we decided to all go prom dress shopping. So Heather and I were talking and we really hit it off. And I think Becky legitimately forgot about our sexuality because we were all talking about how much we have in common, and we brought that up as well. She just looked at us and was like, oh, I forgot about that. And she just shrugged it off. But we continued to hang out for a few weeks. One of these weekends, we all went to church together, and the sermon was about how God accepts you no matter what your sexuality is. But of course, Becky turns around to us and says that Heather and I could never date because it would F everything up. Later that day, Heather actually ended up admitting that she had feelings for me, and this is when Becky lost it. Stay tuned for part 2 and follow me on Instagram.
Storytime had the most dirtiest college roomie ever. By the way, we're calling her Jessie. So I moved in before Jessie and I get settled and decorate. The next day, she comes and throws her bag on the bed, then leaves. I thought it was weird because she didn't even say anything to me. Couple hours later, she comes back and I'm like, hello? And she's like, my bad, and comes give me a hug. She smelled very bad. She starts unpacking all of her clothes and blankets, but they smelled like mildew. Anyways, a week later, there's this party going on for freshmen, and she goes, but I stay in because I had a migraine. I told her that when she comes back, can she keep the light off? Now it's 2 a.m., and she comes back in very loud, uses the bathroom, then goes to sleep. And now I'm up, so I got up to use the bathroom too. When I sit down on the toilet, I feel something very squishy. It was dark because, like I said, I had a migraine. I get up, turn the light on, and I was sitting in her shit.
Storytime Tinder edition.
Okay, the story blew up on Twitter like a while ago, but I'm just gonna retell it because it's very informational. So there was this guy and this girl, and they met through Tinder, and then they met up and they went on this date. And they were out at dinner, and then she starts not feeling so well. And then she says, I really need to go home. And he says, yeah, I'll drive you home. And she says, okay. So then they get to her house, and then she starts feeling better. So then she says, do you want to come in for some coffee? And then he says, yeah, sure. So they go inside, they have their coffee, and then she doesn't feel well again. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't feel well again. I think you really need to leave. And he's like, okay. And he leaves. And then she goes to bed, and in the middle of the night, she wakes up and she hears this noise down in her kitchen. And so she locks her door and she calls the cop. And the 911 operator is just on the other line saying, can you just stay on the line until the cops get there? And then the cops get there and they're like, the door is locked. Like, we don't think anyone's inside. And she's like, I promise you, someone's inside my house. I can hear them. She says, you have my permission to break down the door. So she's still up in her room, and then she hears the cops break down the door. And then she hears some wrestling and some fighting. Part 2 coming now.